Hey, what's up, team? Eddie Gray here. Welcome to the Modern Creative, where we help you become a better producer. And today I will be giving you my official review of the Console One mixing system. The ups, downs, benefits, disadvantages. I'm just going to give you straight up honest talk. I've had this now for a couple of months. I like to wait before giving reviews just to kind of get an honest assessment on things. If you don't spend enough time with a piece of gear, it's really useless. So first, I just want to talk about the build. Very impressive layout. I purchased these frames around the Console One and the Fader One from a third-party vendor on reverb.com. But rest assured, these units are super solid. Nothing is going to happen to them. They can fit in a backpack, together, separately. I believe that they both work best together. Sure, you can have with just one or just the other, but I had the Console One for 2 years, I think, and it was good. It was a nice piece of gear, but it wasn't until the Fader One came into play that this entire series really made sense to me. So my goal today is just to talk to you about the basics and just talk to you about some of the pros and the cons. The pros are the workflow. It's absolutely stunning. For somebody like me, I like to take my time when mixing. Obviously, if I'm on a deadline, that's not going to happen. But generally speaking, I really enjoy sitting with music. Like, I've been listening to this mix for like the past hour, and then I just kind of reset everything to make this video. But it's a very pleasing piece of tech to be around. I never got the chance to mix on consoles, and so for somebody that doesn't even have experience with consoles, I can tell you that this is a very genuine and just sweet experience. Do you need it? I don't think so. Is it awesome? Yes, just on so many different levels. Stay until the end of the video so I can share with you my favorite feature of Console One that not a lot of people know about. If we open up the software, the companion software, you can see that we have our settings tab on the far right here. Now, you're going to find some of the knobs that are on the Fader One, on the Console One, and sometimes they're in different places. And this is specifically why I like it. Because like if I want to track select inside of the Fader One, I use these track select buttons. But if I want to do that in the Console One, I just use the track selectors up here. So your hands are moving. You know, I don't like kind of being in one place all at the same time. So for those of you that kind of need to move around a little bit, that could definitely be a great factor there for you. The first thing I will talk about are the settings. So I'm going to hold shift here and click on settings. And to me, one of the best things to set up just from the get-go is the set auto display delay feature. And what that's going to do, it's going to tell Console One to give the software 4 seconds before essentially removing itself. So right now I have it basically on the whole time. So if I click on, it will not be disabled until I click one more time. But if I then hold shift and on, now this will appear 4 seconds in, and then we can go back to our workflow. Some of you may work really fast. You can have that set to 1 second. Something else I recommend that I really like is select track on touch and select track on solo. And so when I solo the track, it will not only be selected, but it will be soloed. And then if I click on any one of these, you can see that it is hyper aware and ready for me to make a choice. So that's pretty rad. Really kind of makes everything move very quickly. Now the next thing to look at, which is super important, is the solo safe button. Now this is really important simply because if you don't enable it on the master, especially when you go to solo another instance of Console One, you're going to be soloing the acoustic guitar, but basically disabling the master or stereo out. So if you're going to be using this on the master, definitely open up the plugin instance of console 1 and then just enable solo safe. And so now when I solo a track, you can see that the master here on instance number 7 is solo safe. So that's the very first thing in regards to the setup. I would highly recommend you set this up on the first instance of every single channel strip. Something else to bring up here inside of the settings, you're definitely going to want to look at use DAW track name. Now, I can't speak for every DAW, but if you don't enable this, essentially what's going to happen is when you look inside of the software, you won't be able to tell what is what. Things will be named in a very inappropriate fashion. So if I go, let's say, to track 26 here, and I name this to acoustic, if I go back into the software, you can see that that has been named appropriately. We can actually reassign these, which I really like. Such a great feature. I'm really glad that they kind of really thought of everything. And so if I go back into the settings, you can see down here, we want to rearrange the tracks. And so we would use the track selectors. And so let's just say we want to move the pads here, and it says select where you want to put your pads. And so then I'll put the pads, let's say, over here. And so you can switch them over just like that. So the layout is just really fantastic. Again, they thought of everything. If you're not used to this overlay concept, you actually quickly get used to it. Like, it doesn't really take that long to get used to it. Now, right now I've got, cameras are on me, so I'm having to reach a little bit more. But believe me, once it's set, it's a very, very, very clean workflow. Let's talk about the display modes. So we've got this main view, and you can actually keep certain views or omit others, but I pretty much use them all. We've got this kind of open view, which allows you to see everything that you're doing, including phase invert, input gain, drive. You got the EQ thumbnail there, stereo width, your pan position, all sorts of stuff. This view I like quite a bit because sometimes I'm mixing and I forgot what instance is where. Although we have different banks and pages that we can shift to, sometimes it just gets a bit overwhelming. I personally don't use this in any more than 8 to 10 instances, and that's pretty much it. That's just my workflow. So I will write the track first and then bounce everything, or I'll create summing buses for each of the respective instruments. So another view is this view here, and this is just very friendly as far as being able to track select. You don't get any volume data though. And then we go back to this view. I find myself mostly in this view. This is where you do your transient shaping, de-essing at times, equalization here, compression stages here. You can add drive and character, and all of those actions apply here in the fader 1. So for example, if you want to make a volume change, you would do that here, whereas if you want to make a volume change with the console 1, you would do that here. You can pan on both units, and now with the new update, not only do we have the ability to adjust the width here by holding shift, you can also hold shift on the console 1 and adjust the stereo width here. Another addition with the latest update was the ability to change the drive module. So now if I hold shift and the track selector number 6, I can replace the drive. So that makes for a really nice clean workflow. If I want to cancel, I can cancel here. Now we can change the entire channel strip. We can change the shape or the transient designer here. They have now included harmonic distortion and tape as well, which is pretty sweet. You can use EQ units, compressors, and you have the ability to also go back in time and go through a series of steps just to make sure that you don't drop the ball. So if you ever need to kind of go back in time, you have the ability to move back. That's pretty great as well. Let me cancel that. You also have the ability to go into Apollo Central mode. by clicking on shift and then hitting mode. So rather than having to use console, you can basically control everything here inside of the console one mixing system. Okay, so let's just talk a little bit about the units. I love having my hands on gear. I love to stop looking at the screen so much. I mean, think of it, these days we're looking at our phones, we're looking at iPads, we're looking at webinars, more Zoom meetings, YouTube. And so for me, sometimes just getting my eyes away from the screen just means a lot to me. And so that's why I was willing to invest in the units. I knew I was going to put them to work, and I knew I was going to dedicate the time, energy to learn them. And to me, it's just a non-negotiable at this point. But I can see how this can be a total waste for another user. I've seen a bunch of these on Reverb or some of those like secondhand offer-up shops that are completely mint, brand new, and you can tell that the owner just didn't use it. And so that's going to happen a lot as well. So if you want to check out, a used version, I'm pretty sure you'll find one that's in brand new, tip-top condition for a better price. You do want to register these because you will get some free plugins, or at least you can get some free plugins. Make sure you have the serial number, but they do cost a bit. It is going to be an investment. But if you're somebody that mixes a lot, I think it's great. I don't use these on every single session. The only time I really use these units are when I can really break down a song into just a couple of different parts. If I'm composing and I have, 70, 60 different tracks, I don't want to use this. This is, to me, kind of I'm giving myself a heads up that I'm going into post-production and I'm getting ready to complete a song. I don't use this for the creation process. There's no one way to use it. I understand that. I'm just not really interested in like surfing through various banks, and that's not what I want to do here. I just want to chill. I want to listen to various instruments, and I just kind of want to lose myself in the music. So that was my prerogative in getting this. I needed this to be easy. I needed this to be very smooth. Now this bottom section here is really, really cool. It basically allows you to create VCA groups within the system. So if I click on here, I can say, hey, I want to send, the bass and the drums over to this assignable group. So it says here, hey, hit OK to confirm. So all right, now I have the bass and the drums inside of this VCA group. So if I wanted to just bring up the volume of, let's say, the rhythm section, now I can do that. And what's impressive about this is it's almost like taking the Fader 1 functionality and increasing it tenfold, because now I can create various VCA groups, let's say for backup vocals, let's say for just guitars, let's say for just synthesizers, on top of the existing tracks that we already have here. So very powerful stuff here with layer mode. When I saw this, I just could not believe that they were able to pull this off. Mad respect for Softube. Just really beautiful, beautiful engineering and technology. The pros are the workflow, the aesthetics, just the relationship that you have to mixing does change. And it's, for me, just really, really great, especially after a long day. You just want to really chill and, get away from the screen. This is gold for me. Cons, I would say the price point, you definitely have to invest. And then it has a little bit of a learning curve, and there's not that many resources out there. So I would say that those are probably the cons. And then obviously, if you're a Logic Pro user, you can't fully incorporate the sends. So that's definitely a bummer, but it still wasn't a big enough deal for me. I still thought it was worth the investment. So one more con definitely has to be brought up, just to be completely honest. Once you go down this system, you're kind of stuck in the ecosystem of Softube plugins. It's true that you can definitely branch out and use other plugins in the universal audio ecosystem, but either way, it's limiting in that regard. And if you really want to extend this and make it worth the while, you do have to not only invest in the units but also the plugins. So just a heads up, that is a major factor. Do not misinterpret what I'm saying. But if you have the resources, you have the time, the energy to learn, it is very pleasant and I would not return it. I am all in. I love the workflow. I am all about it. If you have any questions, go ahead and hit me up in the comments. If you have anything else to add to the conversation, please do tell. I plan on doing a lot more videos. These units are quite deep individually. You can only imagine them together. There's a lot of things that you can do that we haven't talked about, like side chaining and using side chain filters. But anyway, let's call it. Thank you for supporting the channel. Give me a thumbs up, give me a like, give me a share. Thank you so much for the opportunity. I'm gonna get out of here. Take care.